Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek. Nice mask, Chris. I mean, Mr. Amon, sir? Mister? Does he want to be called Mister? He doesn't seem like a Mister. Good looking mask, though. And I presume this is your way of saying tomorrow you'll be dressed as Amon at Comic Con. Comic Con is tomorrow. Very exciting.
Would it be creepier if Amon was a mute? Maybe not. But
Would it be more difficult for him
Steve
to be
Bloom,
as
menacing.
motivating?
Yeah, and Steve Bloom is so great.
He the name doesn't register right off bat, but let me do a Google and see what I'm missing.
He is a legend, Shawn.
Steve
Absolutely.
Bloom. Okay. What do we got? Oh, okay. Plenty of things with which I am familiar. I feel like that happens. I'm already bad at actors and actresses, and then obviously it's worse when it comes to voice acting.
Yeah.
Another layer of complexity. Welcome to Avatar: The Last Podcasters. It's Saturday, Friday, and tomorrow is Saturday. We're going to con. We're going to do our trivia panel. I call it a panel because that makes me feel good. It's trivia.
It is.
It is a
Yeah.
panel.
No.
It's a big, quote, relatively panel relative to other people like us. I I was reading through the panel. Chris, this is what I've been doing this week is thinking about Comic Con because Gio, I'm really excited, of course. Gio's very excited, and I just didn't know if he would be or not, but he's super excited. We're reading through panels, and so many of them are like D&D helpers, cosplay helpers, things like that. It's like, yeah, it's very interesting in a small environment, but it makes me feel unique. Like at no point at any other point in there is there just a big trivia dedicated to a media franchise. Makes me feel special.
Things they try to push it like when it comes to panel submissions, they're like, do you want to do like D&D stuff or how tos or trivia? And not a lot of other people choose trivia. I think because you probably need to provide prizes, and
Sure.
we are dumb enough to buy prizes with our own money. But we really just use the free admission. Use kind of just pass that
Yeah,
on.
we get admission for us and a couple other people, and we probably still lose a hair money on prizes, but like I don't know,
Yeah.
it's so cool. Who cares? And
Yeah.
and everybody's pretty happy about the prizes. So I guess the point I'm putting out there is you don't have to have a car or something, like just a nice selection of related prizes, and it works great and people are excited for it. So yeah, go host a trivia. Let's have a Brooklyn Nine-Nine trivia panel at Comic-Con. Somebody else do it though. I'm tired. I can't handle it. But yeah, that's tomorrow. Very excited. I was looking through panels and I really like well, there wasn't a ton that appealed to me, but I do like Don Bluth. Some of those movies are Heather and my favorite movies. So maybe I'll go sit in that one.
I have no idea who Don Bluth is.
Fievel?
5-0 goes west?
Yeah, he's the animator, and it's all the movies that are in that animated style are Don Bluth movies. So Dragon's Lair, the video game,
Oh,
The Secret of Nim, Fievel movies. I'm missing a Fern Gully. That might be Don
okay.
Bluth. It's that.
I love one thing. I love 5-0 goes west.
That's a great.
Uh,
It's a great animated movie.
thing isn't that the second one?
Yes, the first one
But
is
for some
kind
reason,
of darker
American
and
Tail.
more serious.
Yeah, I use
Anastasia.
5-0 goes west. Used to be. Oh, really? Okay.
Chris, Land Before
Uh,
Time. All dogs go
oh
to
yeah.
heaven. He's got all these things I didn't even realize. Like I never put two and two together. You know what I mean?
He's the director.
He is the animator and
Anime.
filmmaker.
Okay.
So he is the
Oh,
filmmaker.
okay.
Titan AE. Do you remember that one? That feels like a
I,
Chris movie.
I am familiar. I haven't watched it. I probably watched it one time. It was pretty good on it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Uh, he's 87 years old, and his panel was like 12:30. That's the one that jumped out at me that I would just go just to kind of be by him, snap a picture, because that's like some of Heather's and my. They don't line up
Yeah.
like the ones that Heather loves best are not the ones I love best, but they're all Dawn Blue. I think I was wrong about Fern Gully, though. That's not him. But Secret of Nim is. Maybe I was getting those mixed up. All Dogs Go to Heaven. Right here.
Did he do
Right here.
Once Upon a Forest? Who did Once Upon a
Oh,
Forest?
that sounds accurate. Accurate. Let me. Once Upon. I don't think so. It doesn't say his name right up. That's Hanna-Barbera, which I assume does mean that it was not. It was not him. All right, let me try.
That's just kind of one of those movies during that time
that has that just slightly distinct animation style. He did do Fern Gully. Okay, good. So I'm not totally insane. Awesome. So yeah, that's one. Did you look through panels at all? Geo didn't recognize a ton.
I did when they came out, and there was really nothing that I was like, oh, I got to go to that. I'm open to going to whatever, especially just to sit down.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Well, if you're interested,
but there's nothing I'm like, oh yeah, well I got to.
Previous years, there was like an obvious one, right? They were like, oh, we really should go to that one, and that one doesn't exist this year. Not for us, at least. Geo liked some of the D&D ones until I kind of explained. It's like, those are going to be smaller, and they're probably going to be catered to DMs creating stories, right? It's not going to be like, I don't know, like famous D&D people or something. It's going to be in a small room, and it's going to be sort of narrative building helpers and stuff, which if you do that is great. I cannot. Chris, you'd probably be a tremendous DM. First you have to come to a session. But yeah, so the beauty...
You wouldn't know something, Shawn? I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Well, the beauty of D&D, of being a DM, and the reason I wouldn't be good, but the reason you would be good, is you're not creating a linear story. Really, you have a direction, but it's not a linear story. You're creating like a narrative, a landscape, like you're building out... I'm going to say lore, there might be a better word, but like of all of the adjacent and surrounding things to this possibly linear path. And I think that's something your brain would be really good at. Contingencies, all adjacent areas, other plots on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
But first you got to show up once to see if you even like role-playing games.
So, slightly unrelated. I tried out an AI the other day called Sesame. I don't know if you heard of it.
No, I have not.
It is freaking creepy, Shawn. This one talks to you, and you talk to it.
Like Audible talks to you, or just typed out?
Yeah, like no, out loud talking to you. It sounds like it is. The future is strange. Like the inflections and everything. Like it's clearly an AI, but like the inflections are there. It takes breaths in between talking, and somehow I was like, oh, let me just test it out. and somehow she was like, oh, I'm sure you got like a lot of creative ideas and stuff in your head. And I was like, oh yeah, right now I'm actually planning out this fan fiction. And then like she's like, oh yeah, well tell me about it. And then like I spent like the next 20 minutes talking to this AI about the fan fiction, and she was like, oh my gosh, this sounds like I'm connected to these characters, and you're connecting this, you're connecting that, and like it's creepy, Shawn. The future is gonna be weird.
I work alongside instructional designers, so those are people who create training, and so they're experimenting with using AI, and I always try to point out things. I'm not an instructional designer. I was at Payless, though, funnily enough, but I'm not now. But I try to use what I learned at Payless and contribute when I'm called upon. And I call out things like, hey, do we have to cut out far enough that we have the AI's hands on screen the AI person hands on screen, because yeah, they have 5 fingers, right? It's like good enough now that they don't have 6 fingers, but they're so unnatural. They're so like the hands and the movements and the motions are so uncanny. I'm like, can we just crop into an AI head? Is that enough? Do we have, because the hands are, and it might just be me, but I know it's not. I know other people are gonna watch this and be like, this is a joke, that looks so jank, as opposed to just crop it to her head, and they probably won't care, I guess. I don't know. Little things like that bug me. They're like, no, look, it looks so good. Like, no, not yet. This part right here, this part looks good. Let's focus there. Also, I have to correct myself. Ferngully was not. I was incorrect. Not Don Bluth. But the other ones I said were real. The other stuff I said were real, I swear.
All right. How long have we been talking?
I don't know. Too long. 10 minutes. Chris.
Oh, only 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That sounds perfect.
Chris, would you like to take us through? There's a new comic, and for today's episode, you are going to review said comic. And then I'm going to go to bed.
Yes. This is the latest latest Legend of Korra comic. The Legend of Korra, The Mystery of Pinquan Island. So, I'm going to start off pretty high level, non-spoiler review. And then I'll pretty much go through the whole thing, hopefully fairly quickly. I was not looking forward to this comic book. It is starring Mako. I like Mako enough. I don't dislike Mako at all. I don't know why people would dislike Mako. He's pretty cool,
He's generally likable.
Yeah. But there are some that probably hate him just because that's life. But I was not necessarily looking forward to this comic book because it's just a one-off comic, and the one-off comics have really not been all that good, especially even when they focus on particular characters. Like I mentioned before, the Katara comic wasn't good, the Toph comic wasn't good, the Suki comic wasn't good. I like the Azula comic. So, full transparency, I love this comic. It was great. It's one of the best Avatar comics to come out. I think it really delves into Mako as a character, about a little bit of his past, about his motivations, and about his convictions. It was really good to have Mako get the spotlight. I think for any Legend of Korra fan, it's a great read. It doesn't necessarily like expand the universe or anything like that. It's not like some big overarching thread or something like that. It's more of a personal story for Mako. Korra is in about 2 pages. Korra and Asami.
Nice.
Which brings me to, I think, one of my biggest points.
So this is post TV show?
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I didn't point that out. The general synopsis. Let me read it. When a strange missing persons case falls into his lap, Mako is forced to choose between his job and doing what he feels is right. An upturned room and an unhelpful witness aren't promising starts to the investigation, but when his brother Bolin comes across a surprising clue that ties their own mother to the case, the pair embarks on a journey to the small rustic island of Pinquan. The island's inhabitants seem to have things to hide, and the brothers are determined to get to the bottom of it, even if it means uncovering uncomfortable parts of their family's past.
I mean, it's catchy enough little synopsis.
Yeah. So it takes place after. This is the latest info, and this is the latest material we have in the world of Avatar: Last Airbender until
like chronologically.
Seven Havens. Yes, chronologically, probably until Seven Havens comes out.
Okay,
that's a really good title. That title sticks.
It's catchy. It does, it does remind me of Seventh Heaven, and that's not its fault, but it does bring the theme song to my head.
I don't remember the theme song to
Seventh Heaven. No, you just have to go pull it up on YouTube. My sister was obsessed with it. I probably would have been okay with it if she hadn't been so obsessed with it. But kids are weird.
Yeah,
it's a great title. Bad tangent. Great title.
All right, but I was gonna say one of the things I love about this comic is that it proves the concept that the world of Avatar doesn't need the Avatar in a story to tell a good story, right? The world of Avatar is so freaking big, so massive. Like a quarter of the population can have superpowers. Like you can go beyond just the one person who has all the superpowers, and still tell a great story.
In Star Wars, if you're out there, gonna just want to point something out.
Yeah. Uh, Although they might be taking it too far, because I think I might have mentioned before, they're doing a novel about Jin, the girl who Zuko had that date with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why are you guys doing this novel about Jin? Like,
she becomes a stalker and tries to hunt him down and figure out who he is.
like, why is? What if it turns out to be a really great freaking book? That would be
what if
amazing.
it turns out to be like a horror story? I'm listening.
But yeah, so in general, if you're a fan of Legend of Korra, if you're a fan of Mako, this is an absolute must read. I think they give our boy Mako some due justice, putting him front and center here makes him even more compelling and great character. Any questions, high level, Shawn?
If you mentioned Korra and Asami aren't in it that much, like what's Bolin's status in it? Is he heavily involved?
Yeah, Bolin is definitely involved. It's definitely a Mako story, but Bolin is sort of like a sidekick.
Okay, so we're on like a buddy cop adventure. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That is all my current questions.
All right. All right. Well, let's get into the spoiler review / recap of The Legend of Mako, The Mystery of Pinquan Island. The Legend of Mako. It's like if he was the main character. Sometimes in anime, especially I've been watching this anime called Solo Leveling, which is apparently one of the biggest animes now. The story, it's hard to explain the story. Also, I think it's slightly overrated. And anyway, the story starts off this very weakling person, like in this world. For some reason, these dungeons open up, like portals open up to these dungeons, and like they have these people called hunters who go in and they kill the monsters in these dungeons, and there are certain ranks to them. This one guy is really weak. He's an E rank. It goes from E to A to S. He's E rank. Somehow they're on this raid, and it's supposed to be a simple raid, and then they end up a bunch of them are massacred by this weird freaking thing. He somehow survives, probably because he sacrificed himself so everyone else can get free, and he comes back like with new ability. Anyway, he eventually gets stronger, 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 stronger. When you're supposed to like once you get your ranking, you can't get stronger, but he levels up all the time by doing different tasks and things. So there's often these characters that will be like, "Oh, I'm S rank." Like they have main character energy, and then they come in contact with the main character, and they're like, "Holy crap!" Like, "Oh, I'm not the strongest that I thought I was." Anyway, that's what got me thinking. All right, the comic book starts off with Mako in police headquarters. These three children come in asking about a missing persons report. And then they're missing not their dad, but just some man because he's been missing for a couple of days. Um, and so they talk about the missing person, and then not their mother, but a lady who's taking care of them tells him like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. Like these kids don't know what they're talking about. No one's missing. Like everything's perfectly fine. And like, don't worry about it. And the cops are like, well, hey, kid, like, there's no actual report here. You can just file it away, or you can just dismiss it. You can close the case. But Mako feels like, no, like that kid came to me for help. Like that kid, I could see it in his eyes that he was looking for something. Also, these kids are like orphans. They don't have any parents. And Mako, of course, feels connected with that because Mako didn't have any parents. I'm sorry, he had parents. They were killed. Um, that's me.
He did have them, and then he didn't, but he did at one point.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose
Yeah.
everybody had parents at one point.
That's true. So their legal guardian takes them home, but Mako feels like, all right, he needs to figure out what's happening here. So he ends up following the lady to a hotel. He ends up pretty much doing detective work, and then he finds the lady. Anyway, they do detective work. Him and Bolin tags along for some reason. They go to the woman's house, and her house is like her apartment's now empty. And they find this little kind of seashell thing in her apartment, and Bolin is like, "Oh, this seashell is really familiar." He's like, "Oh yeah, like I got this." Bolin's pretty much like, "I remember this seashell because Mom used to give it to me whenever I was like feeling scared or something." And so once they know that, they then take the seashell to this like Fire Nation historical place. Again, just more more detective work. And they ask the person there like, "What is this seashell?" And the guy there says like, "Oh, it's from this very specific island. It only comes from there, so that must be where it came from." Sorry, I'm just kind of reading through it. So now they got a clue, and they got a clue just because of Bolin, because Bolin had that connection to it, which is again, it's like they're working together to solve whatever this case is. And I would say, like, there is a mystery in this book, and there's not that many mysteries in Avatar, so it's kind of cool to like, as you go through and reading a mystery, you're hypothesizing it yourself and trying to figure out what's kind of happening here. So this is literally maybe the only picture of Korra and Asami, and they have no dialogue. They're just saying bye to Mako and Bolin because they got to go to this island in the Fire Nation. Bolin also wants to go because Bolin's like, hey, we might. Mako didn't want to take him, but Bolin's like, hey, we might figure out more. We might find more family. Like we might find out what where Mom came from. And they also said like their mom didn't talk about her upbringing at all. Never mentioned where she was from. Like she just kept that all secret even when she was alive. All right, so they run back into the lady and not her kids, but they're not even her adopted kids. I don't know how she became the legal guardian of these kids, but she is. They probably explained in this book, and I probably forgot. But somehow this lady is taking care of 3 orphans.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I mean she's a nice enough lady.
She's definitely supposed to have those kids.
Yes, you do. At first, the lady seems a little bit like, "Hey, there's something fishy going on here," but they come to trust each other, Mako and the lady. And even as a viewer, as an audience, you're like, "What's up with this lady?" But she's cool. She's on the opening. Even so, that I feel like I don't know if I was reading chemistry here between Mako and this lady, but I'm like, Mako deserves to be happy. Can someone like I can see him? I don't know how this lady looks like Mako's probably in this comic book probably 22 or 23, and this lady looks like she's like 27 or 28. I'm like, all right, yeah, Mako. Like I know she's probably older, but go for it. They don't. That was just in my head.
You're just
I thought they were building a little bit. I think I just wanted Mako to be happy. Like, the two two of the hottest girls dumped you for each other. You need somebody.
I think that just shows that he's got great taste in females.
True. I mean, hey, sure he shot 0 for 2, but if you're shooting 0 for 2 in the NBA, it's like shoot, you're in the NBA. Like,
You're there. You're in the show.
yeah. Um, there's a couple other cute little moments. So they're on this ship. Ship is kind of scary. The kid orphans are can't sleep stuff, and Bolin helps out the little boy by giving him the little shell thing that his mom gave him, saying like, oh, what does he say about it? Bolin says like, I know storms are scary, but this is a special stone that protects boats. Hold on to this one, it'll be okay. Because that's what his mom used to tell him, that this stone would protect him anytime he got scared.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
I mean, for an Earthbender, it's adorable. For anybody else, it's like he could have been a little more creative.
Yeah. But anyway, so this lady and her kids go to the island, and also Mako and Bolin are there at the island, and as soon as they visit people, I just get racist tones from the people on this island. Like immediately, I don't know, because one said call them boys. So they get on they get on the island, and the guy there, who's like, he looks mangy. He says, "You boys missed your boat." Like what? Like, whoa, this guy.
That feels like a choice.
Yeah. There's a lot of, thing is, I think you could pull, even I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's a negative connotation for Asian people, but I've heard the term "fresh off the boat," just even the show itself.
Mm.
But yeah, anyway, he says, "You boys miss your boat," and then Bolan's like, "No, we're visiting for a bit," and he's like, "Oh well, there's not much to visit here. Not sure if you got your islands mixed up." What else did he say? He said something else. And then, oh no, oh yeah, this guy's definitely racist. Jeez. Bolan goes, he says, "Oh, our mom might have come from here. Actually, she'd have been about your age, I bet. Her name was Naoki." Oh, and that's the first time we learned about their mom's name. "She would have lived here probably like 30 years ago. Did you know her?" He says, "Sorry, you're saying your mom was Fire Nation?" And Bolin is like, "Yeah, we're brothers. Our mom never told us much about where she came from, so we're trying to find out ourselves. Sorry, son, you just don't look Fire Nation is all." That guy's racist. You don't look Fire Nation is all. And then you don't look like you come
We
around
don't take
here.
kindly to you.
And then Bolin is like, "Well, our dad was from the Earth Kingdom." And he's like, "Oh, let me guess. You're from one of those Mitz families in Republic City." Super duper racist guy.
Anything like that always makes me think of that episode of Community where Coach Beard is the guy who thinks he's Jesus. This little song about mixing races. It's called "Don't You Do It." That's good. That's the Pierce's mom dead episode with the CD player and everything.
Then the trampoline episode.
Oh,
Where? Swastika. And then like, because Troy and Jeff are like so enamored with the trampoline and so in like a space of just of higher living or something, they're kind of so tranquil about everything. He's like, it's going to become a maze. And then he's like, and then Jeff was like, man, the trampoline just really costing me. He was like, yeah, it costs some people, and some people are just jumpers. And like he's talking about Troy, like as if Troy didn't belong there. And then after the fact, they're like, holy crap, he was racist.
well, the first time I was watching it, like when he said whatever he said that was like blatantly racist at first, and you're like, oh, didn't see that coming. And then they show all those clips, you're like, okay, never mind. It's a beautifully written episode. With the irony being that what that it's kind of Pierce's fault.
Oh yeah, sure.
The real irony there.
Anyway, and then Mako's like, is that a problem? And that guy's trying to, play the I'm not racist card. He goes, no, of course not. But unfortunately for you, Naoki is a pretty common name around here. You can try asking Sheriff Panzo. Anyway,
Some of my
Sheriff
best
Panzo.
friends are Fire Nation lookalikes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, he's great with Fire Nation. So these people are in the Fire Nation. It's everyone else.
Gotcha.
So they're in the Fire Nation. And then Bolin just wide-eyed and stuff says, "Oh, this place is so quaint." And then Mako says, "Yeah, it's definitely old world. See anyone who looks like they could be related to us?" Says Bolin. And then Mako says, "All I see are villagers giving us suspicious stares." So yeah, so not a nice village at all. Oh, and then this is when it becomes like, oh, okay, they're really really racist. But when it's like, so they're in like the internal offices, like the police offices, because they're going to go visit the chief to get more information. And then in the office, Belena's like, is that a Fire Lord Ozai portrait? And then Mako's like, yeah, in Azulon, in Sozin, like they still have up all the portraits and stuff. So clearly,
it's a painting of all of them on the General Lee with a Confederate flag in the background.
Yeah, exactly. This book is, to me, this maybe I am somewhat biased in this book because, like, all right, they're somewhat heavy-handed. Oh, well, to me, they're probably having to other people might be subtle with the commentary. And then Bolin's like, should we worry? Bolin is like, should we be worried that they are so into homicidal fire lords? Where's Zuko or Izumi? And Mako's like, it's weird, I'll give you that, but this place is very traditional. Maybe they just like the art. So they have up all the pictures of the Fire Lords as they show.
Yes, art.
So anyway, they end up so not only do they have a picture of Fire Lord Ozai, but they have a picture of when he was the Phoenix King. Like who did you commission to get this picture?
Who saw that?
He was the
Who saw it?
Yeah, he was the Phoenix King for a day, and you're like, nah, I need to get that first edition Phoenix King. like I need to get that first edition Hitler portrait.
That's
like
it's gonna be a peak print someday.
Yeah. Oh gosh, they're definitely racist. Like Mako and Bolin are grown men. So they meet. They definitely, it's beyond them. Anyway, they meet the chief of the city, and he's like, "What are a couple of Republic City boys doing on our humble little island?" Oh yeah, they're driving that boy thing. So anyway, they go on. They keep talking to this guy who's the chief. He pretty much runs the whole island. So they talk about. They ask him for information on the man who's missing. Anyway, the guy is being completely uncooperative with them. He's like, now let me tell you a little bit how we do things on Pin Quan. Here, we honor tradition and protect our own. We take pride in delivering justice. And as soon as a boy starts firebending, we train him up. And when he's old enough, we deputize him. Our firebenders are the law, and that's why we close more cases than any other force in the nation. Probably more than your Republic City jokers, too. I take my job very seriously, and if one of my citizens has a problem, I'll deal with it. Pin Quan is a nice, peaceful, real Fire Nation community, and we intend to keep it that way. At least that's how I read it. I'm sure he wasn't. I'm sure he wasn't Southern,
I like to
had Southern
picture
accent.
Bryan and Mike as they're writing that in particular and just saying it out loud like that as they go.
Oh, I didn't mention the writer. The writer of the book says script by Kiku Hughes and art by Alex Monick. If I pronounce that wrong, apologies. Colors by Diana Suso and lettering by Richard Starkings and Comic Crafts Jimmy Betancourt. Okay. So anyway, that guy is racist and he loves Nazis, and he's not gonna help him out. And so Mako and Bolin split up because they have an argument. Because their argument's like Mako's trying to protect Bolin. Bolin's like, I'm not a little kid anymore, type of stuff. Um. So anyway, so they split up, and let's see. I forget where they start piecing stuff together. Oh yeah, the this island used to be a tourist shop. So like they're not tourist, but tourist place. So the geyser would go off. There's a geyser on this island that would go off the same time every single day for some reason. People don't know why. It just does it, and I don't. They don't explain why. That's just a natural phenomenon of the place that the geyser goes off every single day. And so for some reason, the geyser went off at a different time. And immediately, everyone in the town and the chiefs of police, whatever, blames Mako and Berlin because they're outsiders, and it's like, well, we put one and one together and we got five. Um,
Pretty standard stuff, yeah.
yeah, those two Republic City boys who showed up today, boy, they are milking the crap out of boys. I don't know if other readers think, but like Mako and Berlin are full grown men at this point. Anyway, um, okay. So anyway, so they get in a scuffle with the people there because they try to like apprehend Mako and Berlin. Uh, oh, I'm sorry, Mako and Berlin split up, but now they get back together because Berlin found one of the three. Oh, he found Mako. I'm sorry, Berlin found the three kids, and they can't find the lady who's taking care of them. I wish I remembered her name. I'm sure it's somewhere in here, but I don't feel like looking for it. She's just the lady. And then they're like, oh, that's their auntie. I'm sorry, that's their auntie, not a random lady. She's their aunt. Their auntie Hisa. And the one of the boys says that the cops took her away. And there's a nice little moment here where so like the oldest boy, he has to like take care he had to take care of his siblings and stuff. So Mako really connected with him on that. And then Mako tells him like Mako has this really good look with him. He's like, hey, you did good. Like that's what I would do as a big brother. Like you did a really good job. Mako and Bolin does some detective work. They figure out that the geyser went off at the wrong time. It must have been her trying to signal to them. So they go to the geyser. Okay. So they go to the geyser and they find a dungeon, if you will, with jail cells and stuff. And they take out the guards and they find that the auntie lady was there. She had been captured by the chief guy, and then they also find the other guy that was missing. The guy who was missing, the way he's connected to the story is that he lives on the island, right? But he helps people leave the island because the island's like everybody got to stay here. Also, the island's not only racist, but they're also North Korea. It's like, like I'm serious. Like people don't leave and they don't like outsiders in and stuff, and it's like you gotta escape the island, right?
That's a special blend of racism and dictatorship right there. Well, not a single
Yeah,
dictator doesn't sound like, but kind of.
yeah. Um, even the old man says the old man is the one who helped the Mount who went missing. He went missing because the chief called him and stuff. That's and the chief before was like, what he was saying before was like, oh, when one of my citizens does something wrong, I will enact justice myself. So that's why he had kidnapped that old man. So then Mako and Bolin are like,
This
they
place
ask him,
sucks.
yeah, well, they asked the old man, like, hey, do you happen to know our mom? Her name was Naoki. He's like, I thought you two looked familiar. So he knew their mom because he helped their mom escape the island, right? That's why their mom don't talk about the island because the island is racist North Korea. I mean, hey, honestly, I don't know if North. I for some reason assume North Korea is racist.
You're right. Maybe that's a
Maybe
different
they're not.
social phenomenon going on there where they're completely fine with everybody else.
Maybe
Like, we're all created
yeah.
equal, but you have to stay here.
Kim Jong did hang out with Dennis Rodman for some
Okay,
reason.
okay. Which,
Maybe it's like when Katara is talking about Fire Lord Ozai in that episode, and then when she's talking about Zuko, uh, when Zuko in the episode Western Air Temple, and 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 Aang is kind of trying to defend Zuko. He's like, well, he did save Appa, and then someone is like, oh, Sokka's like, oh yeah, well, we can out of all the long list of terrible things he's done, we can scratch off animal cruelty off the list. It's like, oh wait, there's one thing. Kim Jong
they
Il is maybe not racist. I don't know. He likes
maybe
Dennis
not
Rodman.
racist against black people. Person,
True.
singular, that we only have a limited amount of evidence. Chris,
Yeah. Also, I don't.
do you remember a Foot Locker commercial from the early 20 teens? It's called I had to look it up. It's called the Week of Greatness commercials, and it was the early 20 teens. And like one of the bits is Dennis Rodman walks up to like the plane counter, and she's like, "What does she say? Round trip to North Korea?" And he's like, "One way," and she starts like cheering, and
I don't remember this at all.
Mike Tyson returns Evander Holyfield's ear in like a little box, and they hug.
I
Uh,
remember that.
the
I don't
the
remember.
the NBA announcer who always wore the funny suits, they're like all in a bonfire, like he's tossing them to a giant bonfire. And it's like Week of Greatness, everything is right in the world. But yeah, one of them is Dennis Rodman's like one way to North Korea, and everybody in the airport starts cheering.
I am not. That confuses me. I understood the Mike Tyson Holyfield thing, but that one confused me.
I think it's funny to me because that means that Dennis Rodman had to like be in on the joke for it to like he had to.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do this bit where everybody is gonna be happy to see me go.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what? I'm confused. Um, so anyway, um, the guy says the old man who was helping people, pretty much underground railroad in North Korea over here, just connect more dots. Um, he says, oh, Naoki was smart and fierce and brave. She wanted so badly to get off the island and start a new life in Republic City, but I lost touch with her years ago. Tell me, is she still there? Like, that's so sad. And they're like,
Oh,
it's so sad all the times that Mako and Bolin have to tell people who knew their parents, like, no, they died like 12 years ago. We grew up on the street. I had to raise my brother. Um,
we were
so then
criminals.
they say no. She and our father died when we were young. A firebender killed them in a random mugging. So right at this point, Shawn, I'm right before it gets to the next panel. I'm like, oh yeah, their parents were killed by a firebender in a random mugging. And I think to myself, like, wait, was it a random mugging? And
Batman.
then, immediately, the next panel is, are you sure that was a mugging? I'm sorry. Are you sure that mugging was so random? Turns out, Shawn, that chief dude killed their parents.
Snuck off the island just to enact what he thought was
Yeah.
vengeance.
He says your mother had always been a troublemaker, practicing firebending. Oh yeah, girls can't firebend on this island for some reason.
For some
Says your mother had
reason.
always
I think we know the reason,
been.
Chris.
it's because they want to be paid equally or something. I don't know.
Ridiculous.
No, this island is just like whoever wrote this was like, we need the worst of humanity from different things. It needs to be North Korea. It needs to be like Southern Jim Crow racist, and then they need to be sexist as well from like 1900s or something before women had the right to vote.
If
That's all.
we just add just enough talent and resources for this guy to go to other places where presumably he's not spent a lot of time and track down people and murder them. Let's add just enough resources to make that possible.
Yeah. And okay, so he goes on to say, I warned her that if she didn't stay in line, there would be consequences. Then one day, she just vanished. Years later, I heard Naoki had turned up in Republic City, so I got in touch with an old friend who joined up with the Acme Kai triad, told him there was a big reward for whoever took care of her. Oh, sorry, he put out a hit on her. He
Okay.
didn't kill her himself, but he still put out a hit on her.
That makes a little more sense, I suppose.
Yeah, okay, that does make a little more sense. Because yeah, even when I was re-looking at it, I was like, wait, he went to Republic. He took off like 3 weeks of work to go out of his way to kill something. It makes more sense just to put a hit out on, not to try and tell a racist how to do his job. But
Just saying he could have done it better, you know?
anyway, so Mako's like, it was you, and so then Mako. I felt this moment here, Mako, firing, having all this kind of rage in him, and he's like, it's like I said, Mako's like, we lived on the streets. Like Mako's really taking out. I think Mako is facing the person who negatively impacted his life, and like you can't think about Mako. Like Mako lost his parents, had to quickly become a parent to his younger brother, which is why Bolin is just the easygoing one. He's like, I didn't have to worry about. Like he had to worry about something. He didn't have to worry about worrying about things. Like Mako had to take all that on himself. And then Mako's like, we lived on the streets as he's fighting this person. We had nobody. It was all because of you. Anyway, so then the guy, of course, gets the upper hand in the fight. Then Bolin joins the fight. I don't know why it was kind of one-on-one at first. I guess Bolin was fighting other people. And then the fight goes on, go back and forth a little bit. Mako's then it's like, all right, let me bring out the lightning. Which at some point you think, oh, he might just kill this guy. Which, you know what?
All right.
I'm all cool for
There's
it.
been worse crimes committed.
Yeah. But he doesn't kill him. He lightning bends the rock. Crap. He lightning bends the wall above him and then pretty much buries him, but not alive, in the rubble. And then the racist guy goes, "You half-breed brat! How could you generate lightning?" And it's like, you are nothing but Mako's like, you are nothing but a pale imitation of what the Fire Nation used to be. And you're no warlord. You're just a pathetic relic of a bygone era. Oh, also side note, this guy believes himself to be like the last true warlord, which goes back to Avatar Zero days, and then goes back to the creation of the Fire Nation, when the Fire Nation was ruled by warlords. Also, to me, there's also this little bit of like, that's more so fine. There's kind of a bit in it's not necessarily, maybe I'm adding too much historical stuff to it, but at some point in time, like during Avatar Zeto's time, because I've been doing so much freaking research on
Zeto
it.
thought process.
Yeah, during in canon wise, during Avatar Zeto's time, like all the separate islands were still controlled by warlords. Like even after the Fire Nation, so the Fire Nation used to just be the Fire Islands or the Fire Archipelago, and all the separate ones um, had were ruled by their own separate warlords. And then of the Fire Sages, one somehow brought them together and became the Fire Nation. But the Fire Lords still let the first Fire Lords still let the warlords maintain some type of power over their islands. And so it's kind of, to me, it's kind of reminiscent of like the United States, right? It's like the states still have certain jurisdiction and stuff, especially before the Civil War. And then Civil War happened, and then became more of the United States of America. Like, no, we are like there's more of a there's less of a you guys do whatever you want type of deal, and more of a, like, no, we as a whole nation is going to do this thing, which is anyway states' rights, states' rights. Uh, so anyway, I was thinking about that. If you ever get into a debate about the reason for the Civil War, because you're probably taught at some point that the Civil War was about slavery, and then you might have been taught at some point like, oh no, it was about states' rights.
It's like
Like, yes,
one
it was.
particular right, and
Yes, it was one particular right. And then if you look at I went and looked at the like the articles that each state did for succeeding. Like, second paragraph in all of them explicitly is like slavery, slavery, slavery. It's like people willingly ignore those things. Like, oh no, they weren't fighting for slavery. They
yeah,
were just fighting because they wanted to be free. So, like, no, they put it in their freaking declarations of independence that we want slaves. It will hurt our economy if we don't have slaves and stuff. Anyway,
relatively prevalent part of that conversation. Not that we should sweep the other part under the rug of the idea of like, oh, I guess the idea of needing more federal unification overall. Like, all right, sure, but let's start here.
yeah. So anyway, so this guy feels like he's the last warlord, and also the Fire Nation kind of just hasn't paid much attention to this little island. Because even Mako Bolin's like, why haven't like the Fire Lord Zuko or Izumi do anything? But anyway, Mako defeats the guy, and the lady, the auntie lady, kind of inspires all the little citizens who really weren't caring about anything before. I mean, they cared because like they knew people who might have went missing or something, but also they were somewhat, I won't say complicit, but they were complacent. Um, but anyway, she inspires them to to make a change, to to turn over a new leaf. Like, even while she's trying to make her pitch, the first guy they run into, he's like, "This is the outsiders' influence. They changed the geyser, and now they're trying to change our tradition." And then she's like, "No, I changed the geyser," and she fire bends and stuff. Um.
A witch.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, long story short, oh, that's a nice picture. Oh, right. So long story short, they end up changing the island for the better. The guy's like the old man who helped them out. Talks to him about their mother a little bit. She would send this guy like pictures and stuff, and like she sent them this picture of her with Mako and Bolin that they never saw before.
Adorable.
Yeah, and and that's kind of how it ends. It ends with a nice little moment between Mako and Bolin, talking about how, like, yeah, they both did good on the case. Mako's a good detective and stuff. But anyway, I really enjoyed the book. That is pretty much the end of the book.
Excellent. A book with not so subtle, maybe racist. No, I'm sorry. North Korea's
Oh no, this is
maybe racist.
yeah,
There's definite racism, definite
yeah.
North Koreaism, whatever you want to call that ism. Definite, definite.
Sexism,
Yes, all the sisms that are bad. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
except for ageism.
Except for what?
Ageism. I haven't
Oh,
seen any ages. I mean, there's so many isms that They threw them all in there. Oh my
Chris,
gosh! Just
they
imagine
did
what the
say
guy was
that
saying about
they did say that
Korra.
once they were old enough to firebend, they deputized him. So I
Ima-
was kind of mistreating the pre-bending age children. You know what I'm saying?
Just imagine if Korra was there. Is like,
No,
what's
no.
up with them gals over there?
Just just imagine if Kyoshi was there and she just killed them all. So I'm not gonna
Oh
like
gosh.
grumpy
Yep.
200-year old Kyoshi who just doesn't have time for people's crap
Yeah.
anymore, and she just
Or
sinks the
yeah,
whole
or even
island.
wrong.
Be amazing.
Oh man,
Be amazing. The whole island just starts like dropping underwater, and people are like, "What are you doing? Just solving a problem."
you're like, there's no fits in this. Y'all better, y'all better get on a boat.
it's gonna get it's gonna get biblical in here. Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it bucked maybe a slightly uninspired trend of one-off stories.
Yeah,
Chris, it's getting late. Final thoughts?
it is getting late. Holy crap! I talked way too long. Well, it was
You
good.
and you and your child have to like wake up and drive here.
That's true. I gotta get up at 7. I also gotta do her hair somehow. She's cosplaying as Mikasa. So yeah, so I'll probably
Nice.
leave. My plan is to leave at 8. Get there. Oh dang! I need to do the PowerPoint. It's 11:37. Okay, the thing is, it won't take me long to do. I just gotta copy and paste the questions.
Excellent. Well, I don't know. Does anybody? I, if you want to make the PowerPoint, that's great. But does anybody ever really have trouble hearing us? I say that, and maybe the answer is obviously yes.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fine. I'll make it. It's more professional.
It is. It is. When I put it on Heather's computer in free Google Slides, uh, it shifts things around. So keep the text like however big you think it should be on regular PowerPoint. Keep it like a hair smaller,
Oh,
so
okay.
it grows and expands and everything involuntarily through free Google Slides. It still works.
Yeah. Or I'll try to.
Technology's great.
I could probably try to make it through Google Slides. Maybe.
No, I would do whatever's convenient. Whatever we've done in the past has worked. So
Uh,
I would go with your gut. But all right, Chris, thanks for the review. Drive safe in the
I feel.
morning. Thank you all for listening in today. And if you're in the Kansas City area, well, I suppose by the time this comes out, 8 a.m. Would you wake up at 8, watch our hour-long podcast, and be like, "He's right. I gotta go to Comic-Con now." I don't think I'm gonna be the thing that changes your mind. But yeah, Comic-Con's this weekend. It's very exciting. So thanks for listening in.
Yeah.
If you
Our
have
panel is at 7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
and
25:05 a. I think.
if you that sounds accurate. If they probably have to bust down the wall and go 25:05 A and B, probably.
I don't think we'll have that problem this year.
I
Last
mean,
year was a huge Avatar year,
it was
but
a
I'll
big
be happy.
Avatar deal.
Yeah.
It's a big Avatar year. But yeah, come by if you're there. And otherwise, thanks. Leave positive feedback in the description, or likes, comments. What am I trying? I'm so tired. Likes,
Yeah.
comments,
So,
thumbs ups, ring bells, subscribe, positive reviews. We appreciate all of those things. And thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.